Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining me. We have a new national champion in college basketball. The Florida Gators knock off the Houston Cougars, pull off a 12-point comeback. We'll talk about that. We will also talk about Patrick Beverley is calling LeBron James Captain America. He's the greatest black American other than Barack Obama. Wow, that's a lot. We will talk about the women's college basketball final game. 8.5 million viewers. That's really good. Not quite the 19 million they had last year with Caitlin Clark. Not quite the 9.9 million they had the year before with Caitlin Clark. But 8.5 million people watched Dawn Staley get her brains beat in, and I'm sure enjoyed it. I'm going to bring on Shamika Michelle at some point to talk about Jasmine Crockett and her latest foolishness. I'm going to end the show talking about Nick Fuentes subtweeting me and criticizing my take on Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony. And I think, is that it? Is there something else I said I would talk to Steve about? Anyway, Steve Kim's going to join me. We'll take a brief moment here before we get to Steve and thank one of our sponsors, Relief Factor. Let's do that now. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain and inflammation. Inflammation is at the heart of the pain you're feeling, a lot of the diseases we have. Relief Factor, 100% drug-free, but it can give you the relief you need from inflammation. And guess what? It's only $20. $20 for the 3-week quick start, just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. For $20, you can fight that pain and inflammation. Why not give it a try? Everyone that tries the 3-week quick start, 70% of them return and re-up. Call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Or visit relieffactor.com. Steve, the Florida Gators pulled off an incredibly boring 12-point comeback and knocked off the Houston Cougars to win a national championship. Were you satisfied with last night's national championship game?
No, I thought it was terrible. Honestly, I want my 2.5 hours back. It was a bad game. I don't care how close it was, how dramatic it was. It's one of those games that, unless you had a vested interest, you're an alumnus or a fan of either of those teams, or you gambled on it, you feel as though I didn't even pay anything for it. I want my money back. That was bad basketball. I mean, it was really in Houston. I wanted this so bad for Kelvin Sampson, but Kelvin, first thing you better do when your team reconvenes, September? Work on some offense. That's embarrassing. You had a 1-point lead with about a minute, and you could not get a shot off. But throughout the whole game from both teams, everybody dribbling the air out of the basketball. Very little ball movement. Nothing really into the post all that much. Shots being rushed up. And I would call that game athletic bricklaying. And I know people are going to come at me saying, well, it's good defense. You know what? I guess. It's easier to play good defense, though, when you have offenses, especially in terms of Houston, where you're trying to do the Angel Reese. Throw up a shot, grab your own rebound again, and hopefully one of those chip shots will move in. Honestly, Jason, if you took that game away and you said, let's put it in the middle of January, nobody would be saying that was a good game.
I tend to agree with you. It was a boring game. Low-scoring game, not great offense. Florida's offense kind of disappeared because Houston's a great defensive team. Houston actually this year has improved their offense, but their offense went away the last 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes of that game, almost in embarrassing fashion. There was their smallest guard, I think he's number 4 or whatever, critical point of the game. He dribbled the ball and went into the lane with no chance of getting the shot off, and early in the shot clock, and then still threw something up that didn't come within 8 feet of the rim, and I was like, oh boy, there's going to be a problem. And then when they get to their last possession, and there's not a great play drawn up, or perhaps Florida took it away, and you don't get a shot off. That was incredible to me, and it was disappointing because I, too, was rooting for Houston. But this is what college basketball is at this point, with just all the transferring around, all the best players leaving early. You can't really build the cohesiveness that we used to see when guys would spend 3 or 4 years developing all in the same program and they would know each other. You're just not going to see those great Duke teams anymore. You're not going to see the great UNLV teams. You're not going to see a cohesive unit. And so a lot of times at the end of the year, it does look sloppy. We've seen these types of Final Four games before, but, at least it was close and competitive. Hats off to Florida and Todd Golden. I'm getting through this quickly because the real thing I want to talk to you about, Steve, is Stephen A. Smith running for president. But I'm gonna save that for the back end of our conversation. I want to get your reaction to the women's college basketball ratings, which I again have told you 8.5 million people watched when 19 million watched last year. And no one, not no one, but a lot of people want to be in denial just of Caitlin Clark's impact. But when you have UConn, historic program with the alleged best player in the country, Paige Beckers, and then you have South Carolina, and they're a dynasty allegedly with this historic coach, Don Staley, and the ratings fall off this much. And yes, I know they're better than the ratings from 3 and 4 years ago, but the drop-off from the last 2 years, and particularly last year, speaks to just what an incredible force. And this is why I keep saying Caitlin Clark is the most popular athlete in all of American sports. She's a force of nature. I think these ratings prove it. She drives more TV ratings than anybody. She's the Tiger Woods of women's basketball.
That I'll give you. That I will give you. And it's hard. Look, this is why 41 of the 44 Indiana games will be nationally televised. And by the way, someone pointed this out on Twitter. UConn has a pretty good white player in Paige Buchers, right? So it's not just about all the white
Beckers, yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to just watch because of Caitlin Clark. And look, anyone that denies that there's a Caitlin Clark impact or effect is not being honest. I mean, you're always going to have a fluctuation in ratings based on the markets involved, the fan bases. Do you have blue bloods? Do you have Cinderella stories? But that type of drop-off is actually staggering from one year to another. And look at the matchup that you had. UConn is one of the absolute dynasties of women's college basketball. I think even most casual sports fans know that. Then you have a look at South Carolina, led by a coach that's a very polarizing figure, and she's been held up as a symbol of she's for the culture. So you put all those things together, and guess what? Most of America, or not nearly as much as America, cared in 2025 about the finals.
Well, the best point you made is Paige Beckers is white, and allegedly being white is the magic bullet that solves all attendance problems and all ratings problems. And she's allegedly the best player in women's college basketball. She's in the championship game, and she's going to be the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft. Nobody wanted to see that. And so let's quit saying that Caitlin Clark's popularity is based on her skin color. Yes, it plays a role, but primarily it's her likability. It's the fact that people don't think she's trying to rub her sexuality in people's faces. They don't think she's angry and feels entitled. And they love the way she shoots the basketball and the style of play she plays with. And so this little simple-minded deal that, yeah, people just love her because she's white. Well, how come they don't love Paige Beckers? And how come, Paige Beckers wasn't able to drive a huge attendance deal? It's just not true. It's never been true. It was one of the dumbest arguments in the history of sports. And it's connected to this next thing that I want to talk with you about, Steve, and that is Patrick Beverley and we'll play the clip, but Patrick Beverley was on someone's podcast arguing, it was his own podcast, I think, with a guest. He's making the argument that LeBron James is basically Captain America. And, Stephen A. Smith and all these people are coming after Captain America, and he's the most popular man in America and most powerful black man in America other than Barack Obama. And the reason I connected is because, I think LeBron James and these athletes can't figure it out. I think he has contributed to severely damaging the brand of black athletes. Severely. That with his anger, his anti-America stances, the brand of black athletes has been severely damaged. So damaged that there's not going to be another Michael Jordan. There will not be another Muhammad Ali. There will continue to be the Caitlin Clarks of the world, because I think a lot of traditional conservative Christian sports fans are just turned off by the LeBron James type of black athlete. And clearly Patrick Beverley and all these other guys think LeBron is the gold standard, and he's not. He's damaged the brand. People used to love Michael Jordan and love black athletes and revere them and want to see them do well. And from Tiger Woods to Michael Jordan to Magic Johnson. And now I just don't think that's true. They're kind of over it. They're like, these black guys are racist and they hate America. I'm over it. Anyway, let's play the clip of Patrick Beverley, and then I'll get your response.
One of the weirdest and
he's the black Captain America, bro.
Yeah.
What the he is literally a black Captain America. He literally is. He's probably the most powerful African American alive, besides Barack Obama.
He might be more powerful than Barack Obama these days.
For real. You talking about one of the most powerful men alive. And y'all get on TV and y'all, come on, man.
So is LeBron James Captain America to you, Steve?
Wow, that's an interesting... you draw that parallel between Barack Hussein Obama and LeBron James. I actually think that there's some similarities and some parallels. Think about it. In 2008, going into 2009, Barack Obama makes history, right? He gave everybody hope with that iconic sign. He was held up as the American dream in a post-racial America, and what a dignified leader he was going to be. I think you could make a case that he was as popular an incoming president to many people as we had seen in a very, very long time. Fast forward to 2024 in this election, you're reading a lot of reports that the impact and the influence of Obama and his wife is waning. People are sick of it. They don't want to listen to the guy. They don't want him to have any influence. And just to draw another relationship here, Michelle Obama's podcast, it's about if it was a movie, it'd be Snow White. It's been a bust. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody cares what they have to say. And to a certain degree, you look at LeBron James. When he came into our consciousness, summer of 2001 and 2002, he was the chosen one. For a very long time, he was looked upon as the heir apparent. And I would say that for much of his first run in Cleveland, with or without a title, people admired him. I think there was an understanding that after Kobe, there's no doubt he's going to be the best player for a very long time. But as soon as he made that decision to take his talents to South Beach, his approval rating, I think, has gone up and down, up and down. It's fluctuated to a point that he's become as polarizing as Obama is in the political field.
Polarizing is the right word, but also I think he's just undermined his likability.
Yeah.
And I think Obama has done the same thing. And certainly Michelle Obama has done the same thing, to the point that, I mean, people are actively, and again, she's supposed to have this big, enormous fan base. She's supposed to be an Oprah Winfrey-like media personality and kind of beloved, and a following of black women and white women that will follow her to the ends of earth. They won't listen to her podcast. Trust me, if black women and white women, liberal women, had the kind of support that allegedly they have of Michelle Obama, they would listen to her podcast. She has no popularity. This is being proven with this podcast release that her and her brother are doing, that people are actively not watching. And I think the same thing has happened to Obama. These guys have overplayed their hand. They're seen as responsible for the anti-American sentiment that is across black celebrity and across Hollywood and across the political landscape. They're out of step with the America First movement, all of them. And I'm telling you, just on a grander level, I don't know if this is going to be recoverable for black athletes. I don't think that we've gone through, sports were organized in the late 1800s, early 1900s. They kind of take off with baseball and boxing, and Jack Johnson becomes, a star in boxing in the early 1900s. Obviously, Joe Louis is a major star in the 1940s. Then comes Jackie Robinson. Then comes Muhammad Ali. And then Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson. And yet, black athletes have dominated American sports and American fandom. And that narrative and that story has driven a lot of TV ratings. And I think these guys have completely destroyed that. And I'm talking about LeBron James, and it's like Patrick Beverly. Wet the tip of your finger, stick it in the air, and see which way the wind is blowing. It's not blowing LeBron James's way. You can't be Captain America when you're actually Captain Anti-America.
Right. And when I think of the NBA, the perception is, to a lot of people in this country, it is a league full of malcontents. They complain too much without a sense of responsibility, but with a complete sense of entitlement. I mean, think about it. They get paid tens of millions of dollars, and they actually complain about the conditions. They don't play back-to-back games. Many of them get load managed. They have great accommodations. And there seems to be a disrespect of the older generation, which, by the way, has actually caused a divide within even in the basketball community. So it's not just simply, in my view, a black-white issue in terms of the divide. When you think about the reputation and the perception of the league, I think there's a lot of older black fans that do not like what's going on currently. If you look at the YouTube channels and who they're run by, and they're bent on things. And let me even bring this closer to LA, and I've told you about this. I am far from the only Laker fan in recess, while the certain guy from Akron is on that team. I've actually been told that more than I thought I ever would. I thought I'd be in a very vast minority. But there's actually a lot of Laker fans who are Kobe loyalists that simply do not get on board right now with the Lakers as long as they have LeBron James. So if he's even dividing Laker fans, I think it's safe to assume that the rest of the fan base that has no allegiance to the Lakers, they're going to feel a certain way about him.
And it's not good. I'm going to, Steve, I'm going to let you talk about this early, and then I'm going to let you go because I have a lot of thoughts I want to get off my chest as it relates to Stephen A. Smith. But Stephen A. Smith has finally come all the way out of the closet and said that he's not running for president, but he's not closing the door on running for president. He's sick of this mess, and he's now willing to consider running for president. This is being run out as big news over social media. Stephen A. Smith is going to do us all a favor and take his very uninformed political views to the big stage, it appears, as I told our audience 2 years ago, and he's going to run for president. Sad? Does it make you laugh? What's it say about America and American culture? Your thoughts?
Oh, I hope it happens. Oh, I hope it happens. And Whitlock, Stradamus, I've got to give you credit. You called your shot like George Babe Herman Ruth. I mean, you just pointed that big Louisville slugger at the center field sky and you just hit it out of the park. I hope it happens. And Jason, I hope the running mate is Jazzy Jazz Ratchet. I hope it's a Smith Crockett ticket, because that's going to be a self-parody where no one realizes it. And what everyone's going to realize it except for them. And look, it's easy to say that I'm going to run for president. I believe that Stephen A. Smith is getting some false hope and false courage because he's treated very well on these relatively conservative platforms that roll out the red carpet for him, right? But I don't think he realizes that politics is a blood sport. I think it's Roger Stone who said that. It's an absolute blood sport. And he has a very superficial, shallow knowledge of most issues. He can get away with it being on his podcast and saying things that are somewhat against the grain in front of a Bill Maher and everyone applauds. Okay, that's remedial stuff. But I was listening to his podcast on the way home from Vegas last Sunday where he didn't like the fact that someone called him a red pill or a right-wing mouthpiece, and he did this whole soliloquy on it. And the fact that he just couldn't stand by what he said and stand firm and plant his feet and said, yes, I'm actually conservative. Jason, anyone that says that I am a social liberal but fiscally conservative has no guts, because you want all the privileges and the benefits of conservative policies, and you want none of the heat for actually having them or stand up and campaign on those points. If you can't do that, and you're always backtracking of, well, I said this about Trump 3 years ago, and I supported Kamala. Well, first of all, the fact that you supported Kamala, and all because the other guy you didn't like, that right there tells me you're not fit for office. He is so overmatched. This would be one of the great satirical moments in American history should this happen.
Steve, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. You guys don't go anywhere. We're going to let Steve go. And then I got some things I want to say. Thank you, Steve. We'll pause for a brief second. Shout out Angel Studios. I'll be right back. Angel Studios has done it again. The studio that brought you The Sound of Freedom has another biblically based, biblically worldview supporting movie coming out, The King of Kings. It's a wonderful story featuring some big stars, Forrest Whitaker, Uma Thurman, Peter Brosnan. It's a magnificent movie. It opens on April 11th. All Christians that are looking for movies that don't violate our worldview, Angel Studios just keeps pumping them out. King of Kings open April 11th in theaters. You can get your tickets at angel.com/Jason. That's angel.com/Jason. You don't want to miss The King of Kings.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. There's something bad going on with American men. It's been obvious for a while. It's measurable in a million different ways, but it's also right in front of your face. For that reason, I'm joining Jason on Friday, May 2nd in Nashville for the Roll Call 3.0 conference, and I hope to see you there.
Join us at Fearless Roll Call 3.0. Real men, real conversations, real purpose. Tickets at fearlessrollcall.com.
So let me unpack my thoughts here on Stephen A. Smith and him finally coming out of the closet and saying what's been obvious and true for a solid 3 years. The guy wants to run for president. There are clearly powerful people backing him in his run for president. They wrote a book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of, first takes and second chances, or so, I can't remember. But anyway, he wrote his book, and that came out, I believe, 3 years ago. And I didn't read it until it was out for a year. I read it when it was in paperback form. But from that book, it was crystal clear this guy wants to run for president. And because I know what a poor writer he is, I knew that someone helped him write this book or wrote this book for him, came up with all these wild concocted narrative that fits all the Democrat playbooks, took all these unnecessary shots at Donald Trump. That's why I was able to instantly go, hey, this guy wants to run for president, and he's planning to run for president. And that's why he's pretending to be best friends with Sean Hannity and pretending to be friends with Bill O'Reilly. That's why all of these people conservatives keep having him on their shows. There's a uniparty. There is a little cabal that helps the establishment prop up people they want to run for president or want to put in powerful political positions. And it was just like what Cat Williams said in the Shannon Sharpe interview, that they're all plants, and Stephen A. Smith is a plant. And what baffles me is that he's been allowed to get away with it, and why I've been trying to tell you all, you need to take this guy seriously. There wouldn't be all these people assisting him. There wouldn't be all these people never asking him about, like, hey, man, there's some real fraudulence around you, or accusations of fraudulence, or accusations that you've crafted a background narrative that doesn't pass the smell test. No one asks those questions. And that's why he believes he can run for president and he's going to get away from it. And I get away with it. And I hear Steve talk about, hey, politics is a blood sport and blah, blah, blah. It is, and sometimes it isn't. When you're backed by the most powerful people on the planet and they've decided that they're going to use you in this way, it doesn't matter. We've already seen it. We saw them conceal and lie about Barack Obama's entire history. And many people still to this day won't accept that Obama's background is fraudulent. He got away with it. And he got to spend 8 years, and 8 years after his election, getting to run around and pretending like he was a godlike type figure without an inch of controversy, without an inch of immorality, without an inch of deceit. He's a godlike figure, and that's how the media has treated him. And Stephen A. is about to get away with it as well. And we've watched in real time as people have helped him sell this lie. It's an amazing time. It's and I don't even know if it's an amazing time, but it's an amazing time because my eyes are open and the scales are off my eyes, and I'm trying to take the scales off your eyes so you can see. And look, I know this audience, you guys are clever and smart, and you're informed, and many of you have had the scales removed off your eyes. But what we're seeing from Stephen A. Smith is kind of par for the course, and you should take him seriously. You can sit around and laugh and say, this guy knows nothing about politics. He knows nothing about sports and hasn't. But he's still making $20 million a year talking about sports. He's still propped up as, the most important sports intellectual and voice in America. And he knows nothing about sports. And everybody in the sports media world knows this, but they won't say it. They're all going along with it because they have to. They know their money and the future of their career is connected to, well, I better not call out the fraudulence of Stephen A. Smith because there's a machine around him. WME, Endeavor, Ari Emanuel, Mark Shapiro, Bob Iger, Disney. There's a machine around Stephen A. Smith that will exact a penalty on anyone who calls him out. And you wonder why this show has the headwind that it does. Because I call out the plants. And at the end of this show, I'm going to call out Nick Fuentes, another plant. It's on both sides. The race baiters on both sides, they're all plants. They're all bought and paid for. They're all part of a uniparty. And that's why Stephen A. Smith and all his race baiting and all that other stuff, this is what they want. Everybody with a following and a platform. And even if it like they're pretending like, oh, they've taken away his platform. No, they haven't, not in a real way. And I'm talking about Nick Fuentes. They're just creating the impression, hey, we're against this guy until we're for him. And as long as he plays his role in promoting racial conflict and chaos, stay in power. What Stephen A. Smith is doing, and people are going to take Stephen A. Smith seriously as a presidential candidate, and he may win the Democratic nomination, and he may win the presidency, because we haven't fixed what's wrong with America. Our eyes are open, and many of us are demanding change, but the change hasn't happened yet. And I'm not sure if it's going to happen. And for Stephen A. Smith to be running out there and admitting, yeah, I think I want to run for president, is an indication that the people controlling him say, no, there's no real change. We'll be back to business. And people are like, how's he? Kamala Harris got away with it. An illegitimate nominee for the Democratic Party. They run out Biden, install her. She never has to compete in the primary. She never has to earn the right to be the Democratic nominee. She never had to answer any real questions. She never had to prove any level of competency. And they ran her for president. And yes, Trump won all the swing states, but she came within 4 or 5 million votes of beating him in the popular vote. And if they were able to cheat just a little bit better, she would have won the presidency. If they feel like, man, we got Kamala Harris this close, we got Joe Biden across the finish line, Stephen A., that's easy work. All right, don't go anywhere. Shamika Michelle and I will talk about Jasmine Ratchet or Jasmine Crockett, another plant, another puppet on a string. Next.
It's my obligation, no hate, discrimination, raising up your hands for freedom.
Men, it's time to rise. Our country, our faith, our future, all under attack. I'm bringing the boldest voices to Nashville. Roll Call 3.0 is your call to action. Join me, join Tucker, and let's take a stand together. May 2nd and 3rd in Nashville. I am Jason Whitlock, your host.
Went without so that he could give you an abundant life.
Young men shall utterly fall. Jason, I know you called us to preach off, but I feel like preaching up in here right about now.
You want to start living better? You want to start feeling better? Hop on this Relief Factor like I have. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights inflammation, which is the source of those aches and pains you're feeling. It's the source of a lot of diseases that befall us. It's a 100% drug-free supplement that fights inflammation. I've been using it. Friends of mine are using it now. Jeffrey Steele, country music legend, songwriter, singer, great friend of mine, he was using it before I was. And I just found out he was over here visiting my house, whipped out his Relief Factor, was like, man, this stuff is great. It's why he's able to bike 30 miles every morning. He does that at age 63. He heard about it from a friend of his that had knee surgery, and the only thing that would relieve his pain was a Relief Factor. For just $20, you can get the 3-week quick start for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. $20. You have a shot at relieving the pain that's compromising your life, making you make decisions. Well, I can't do this or I can't do that anymore. Yes, you can. 70% of the people that try the 3-week quick start circle back and reorder because Relief Factor is working for them. Call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800, the number 4RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com. Join me, Jeffrey Steele, and all the rest of us smart people. Eliminate that inflammation. Start living a pain-free life. You can do it. Join us. 1-800-4RELIEF.
I know Black church, y'all. I know how we are, okay? And you ain't got to admit it, okay? Because I know. So you don't have to admit it. But literally, and even if we take it out of church, when we talk about Black culture, I'm going to be real with you and tell you that Black culture has never really been one that has embraced the LGBTQIA community. This is just a reality. So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hand. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
All right, welcome back. Shamika, as you just heard, Jasmine Crockett, and I'm still working on a great nickname for Miss Crockett, and I need to come up with that. But Jasmine Crockett is at it again, appears to be speaking inside of a Black church, and she wants to talk about how we done picking cotton, and that's basically the job of illegal immigrants, and this is all being met with applause. It's illogical, it's stupid, it's denigrating work, for one, and pretending as if somehow we as Black people have risen above manual labor. And my belief is all work is honorable and worthy. And then she's also scolding inside of a church Black people for not embracing the LGBTQIA plus. And not only do I find that stupid and silly inside of a Black church, but I don't even think it's true. I think Black has become the new gay, and the church has kind of just looked the other way. Anyway, Jasmine Crockett at it again. Your thoughts, your take.
The simple phrase for her, again, Jason, is bye, Felicia. I think she was telling the truth, which is scary when she said, I know Black church. To me, that is like the old days, right? There was a time when the Black church, I think, adhered more to the Bible. Now they don't. So yes, you have the gay directing the choir, sleeping with the choir member. They are allowed to do whatever they want. They have pride flags hanging in the church. And so to me, I would wonder what church, Black church, are you talking about, Jasmine? Are you talking about now that they've tossed the Bible out? Or are you talking about back in the day, which should have made anybody proud that at one point in time, Black church, or as she calls it, actually tried to live according to the Bible. Now, I don't think that's the case. You have pastors pushing abortion, pastors pushing gay marriage, pastors sleeping with this member and that member. It's not the same now. Church is like a social gathering in many Black churches. We saw this with Jamal Bryant. We saw this with William Murphy during the whole election. We saw this with the Warnoff guy or whatever down in Georgia. This is a joke to them. Church now is a joke. It's not about being Christian. It's about going there to be social and to be social justice warriors. So when it comes to the church, I want to know to Felicia, which church exactly are you talking about? Now or then?
You know what? It's, and I don't have the proper funny acronym, but it's like the Affordable Care Act. It's a form of insurance that Obama has opened up to everybody, and the affordable or the flexible religious health care act or insurance policy. Hey, just in case there is a God, I want to be able to say, hey, I went to church every Sunday. And that's what the whole deal is. It's an insurance policy. It's not your provider. It's just in case your provisions aren't proper on Judgment Day. Hey, at least I went to church. People go out of tradition and people go out of just in case. They're not looking for guidance. They're not looking for accountability. They're not looking for repentance. It's their life insurance policy that you pay $6 a month for, or whatever you tithe, and you just say, well, I hope I never need it, or when this will come in handy when I do need it. But in terms of dictating how we believe and behave, yeah, the church has virtually no impact or no interest in having impact in that regard.
Yes, Jason, I totally agree. They do it out of habit. I know people that have been in church 50 and 60 years who still act like they don't know the Bible. Either they don't read it or they just lean on the pastor to tell them what it says. The way they live their life, and I'm not even talking about blatant sin. I'm talking about not having the tiniest bit of faith. I see this from people who've been in church all their lives. And it's funny to me that they would allow someone like Jasmine Crockett to stand in the pulpit and be disrespectful to people, our ancestors. They are always talking about the ancestors, but then they disrespect them every chance they get. For her to say, we done picking cotton, you never pick cotton. You've never pick cotton unless it's the thread out of the braids that you have so that you can put that fat wig on your head. You've never picked cotton, and I think it's disrespectful when people who've lived very privileged lives start to act as if they were ever slaves, that they were ever whipped or beaten. It's a joke. And we have kids now who refuse to read. There was a time when slaves weren't allowed to read. Now they don't even want to read, but we allow them to say things like, we done picking cotton. If I wish that Mama Hannah, that's my great-great-grandmother, could rise, who was actually born in slavery, and I hope I got a little bit of her fire. I wish she could rise from the dead and backhand people like Jasmine Crockett, who were trying to ride off of their hard work. It's disrespectful, but these are the same people that act as if they are fighting in the name of the ancestors. You're not, when you're disrespecting everything that they actually did and went through for us to be where we are today. She's a joke. Bye, Felicia.
One of my best friends and a mentor in Kansas City, this old Italian dude, Joe Mandicina. And, I'm just going to keep it real. He owned a club called Diamond Joe's. And we were very close, and close with his wife, his family, and I can remember we were so close, we were just honest with each other. And I can remember one time he caught me, and this is years ago, talking about pride and what I would and wouldn't do, and he goes, Jason, that's the problem with black people. Y'all ruled by pride. There was $1 laying on the floor, you'd be too prideful to pick it up. And he goes, that's the problem. And the conversation revolved around Joe was a multimillionaire, owned a lot of property, owned a lot of businesses, but he would wait on me or Derek Thomas or any professional athlete that came in there or any of his customers. He'd wait on us hand and foot. He'd come out and serve us meals. He did everything, put a little apron on it, and he was literally, he had more money than even the professional athletes. But and he goes, man, pride ain't gonna stop me from bending over and picking up a quarter, let alone $1. And that's what I think he's right. And when I hear that very pride, we done picking cotton, and we wouldn't do the kind of labor that Latinos or illegal immigrants do or whatever, that's a childish philosophy on life. The other thing that bothers me is just, we have called this tone and conversation and ghettoing up our tone. We call it code switching, as if this is some sort of great skill that only we have and it's something to be complimented. I don't like the code switching. I don't have two different styles of voice for black people and for white people. And just how ghetto she was trying to sound. I'm finna tell y'all, or I'm gonna tell y'all that, or any of that. I don't like it, and it seems to be a requirement among prominent black people that, get placed in high political positions, get placed in high places in the media. At some point, they're all called upon to show just how ghetto they are, and somehow this is a good thing.
Jason, I definitely know I'm capable, right? And so since that's the way Jasmine speaks and they've had her going around sounding crazy and thinking that's what black people want to hear, how we speak may go completely over her head. So I just want to say to her in her language and in the way she's pretending that she understands, bitch, please. What you mean, girl? You done picking cotton? Do you think you done picked some cotton? Girl, you ain't never done no hard work, girl. You went to a private school. You know what I'm saying? You trying to pretend like you didn't pay thousands of dollars to go to school. And now you sitting here lying like you come from the hood. Girl, you ain't come from the hood. Tell me I'm lying. You capping. You ain't come from no hood, girl, and you need to stop. But we tell everybody exactly how you got fired back in Texas. Okay. There you go.
We will end on that note. Thank you, Shamika. Great job as always. Don't you guys go anywhere. As I've promised you guys, I'm going to respond and have a take here on Nick Fuentes trolling me, subtweeting me, and my full response. Next. The shots being fired my direction.
I should know he ain't really worth the shit.
You're nothing but a puppet and a brown noser.
Society is filled with people on the sidelines taking shots at successful people.
I've had enough of that fat bastard.
So, that's what I do, you coward.
I'll listen to you. If you have any ideas, I'll take them.
I love Jason Whitlock. I respect the hell out of him.
That I'm calling the Gatesful Eight. I just don't want this thing between you and Eminem to turn into a Tupac and Biggie.
I'm full-blown MAGA tonight.
I sort of did a joke meme about it, like, hey, who else was persecuted right before Easter?
I've never voted, JD, is because I'm just incredibly cynical. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, welcome back. And as promised, I'm going to address the tweet exchange. And maybe it's exchange is wrong because I tweeted at or posted at Nick Fuentes. He did not post toward me. I posted towards him. I read into a post that he posted. I was like, oh, he's subtweeting me or sub-posting me, I guess is what they call it now on X. And I felt like, I got to address this. Who else could he be talking about other than me? Here's his post, and this is, in my view, connected to Karmelo Anthony and the Austin Metcalf tragedy. And so Fuentes posted on X yesterday around noon Central Time. So tired of hearing that black crime is caused by, quote, black culture. For some reason, rap music doesn't make white people steal cars and shoot people. It only works on black people. I'll deal with that post here in a second. He followed it up with a second post just minutes later. Just another in a long list of excuses. Leftists blame it on racism and poverty. Conservatives blame it on culture and godlessness. Blacks create the same culture, he puts culture in quotations, from L.A. to Baltimore, from Haiti to London, from Sudan to South Africa, from prehistory to now. It's race. And so I think, let's go to the first one. So tired of hearing that black crime is caused by black culture. I've been making that argument. For some reason, rap music doesn't make white people steal cars and shoot people. It only works on black people. And so my argument is, and my belief, and I think the facts are, that we're all image bearers of God. God makes no mistakes. Skin color is virtually irrelevant. And culture is the most relevant determinant of behavior, what's normal behavior, what's accepted behavior. Culture establishes that. And quite frankly, I'm quite critical of the culture that American blacks have adopted. We have been introduced to Christianity. Christianity has been part of our religious tradition for hundreds of years. And by this time, we should be smart enough and far enough along in our journey to know there is no value in black culture. And that if we look around at everybody else in America, they're not taking their culture from their skin color. They're taking their culture from the values they say they respect and uphold. Many people are taking their culture from their religious faith, and they've bought into that. And quite frankly, many white people, whether black people want to hear it or not, have no interest in living up to a white culture because they don't think there's any value in it. And the culture they want to live up to, sometimes it may be secular, but it's family. Hey, we want to be a part of a family culture. There are some that don't. They're feminists, they're leftists, they're idiots, and they reject that. And then many white people are evangelical and take their culture from Christianity. And they try, and they fail like the rest of us. They fall down and make mistakes. But that's the culture they want to adopt and embrace and try to live up, their Christian values. There are some black people that try to live up to those Christian values as well, but many black people have been sidetracked. They're trying to live in both worlds. They want to be part black culture and part Christian culture, and you can't do it. It cannot be done. And they will argue with you tooth and nail. Yes, it can. And we must have black pride. And I'll say, well, where's that in the Bible? And they reject that. And so there is a problem with the culture. Many, a great number, the overwhelming majority of black people, there's a problem with that black culture that they are hold on to like a religion. And they claim they're not. And they, hey, you can be Christian and you can have black pride. You can be Christian and you can live up to this unapologetically black standard. It's a mass psychosis. And anybody that is a believer in Jesus Christ, and this is where I get sideways with Nick Fuentes. He's pretending to be a Christian. He's pretending to be a Christ is King person, and he's not. Because anybody that's a Christian would be pointing to Christ and not race. And I'm talking about as it relates, because he's trying, apparently, and look, I've listened to people for several years criticize Nick Fuentes. I had never looked deeply into Nick Fuentes. I've seen some of his tweets. I hear about this Groypers movement, but didn't know much about it. Well, now he's on my radar. He has come directly at me. He did not by name, but in my view, he's talking about me, and everybody knows he's talking about me. And so I gave him a response that I think is factually true. As I've been telling you all about this Austin Metcalf, Karmelo Anthony, and I'm talking about the aftermath. I'm not talking about the actual murder. I'm not talking about Karmelo Anthony stabbing this kid for no justifiable reason. I'm talking about the aftermath. The aftermath of Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf is a psyop. The globalists that want to use this situation to stir up more racial division and more chaos and, in my view, provoke a black-white conflict. They feel like Karmelo Anthony is the new George Floyd and that Austin Metcalf is the new Derek Chauvin. And so just like George Floyd overdosed on fentanyl, but the George Floyd worshipers like, oh, he wouldn't have died if Derek Chauvin hadn't kneeled on his neck. No, the man died of a drug overdose. He died of his own stupidity. He died of his own resistance to police. But no, it was caused by Derek Chauvin. This is what they're doing with Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. They're arguing, no, if Austin Metcalf hadn't bullied Karmelo Anthony would have never stabbed him in the heart. And this bullied thing has been pulled straight out of people's rear end, right out of thin air. There's no proof of that. There's rumors, there's gossip, but there's no proof of it. But people are running around and have argued and have put it into the narrative that this was a bullying situation. That white kid tried to bully him out of a seat underneath that tent, and he should have went and got an adult. And didn't you hear the rumor that they got in a fight a week or two ago over a girl and blah, blah. There's no proof of any of this. And it all seems very unlikely. My journalistic instincts say that's very unlikely. Maybe it happened, but there's no proof. And all the clues we have so far point to that ain't what happened. What happened was black kid sitting in a tent where he didn't belong. White kid has every right to be like, hey, man, at these track events, there's a pattern of kids getting their stuff stolen. They're leaving it in the stands, and people are coming around and robbing them. And most likely, this part here is speculation on my part, but I would think some of those track athletes from Austin Metcalf School were like, hey, Austin, you and Hunter, we'll be down here competing in track. Make sure none of our stuff gets taken. They see some kid from some school sitting under their tent and say, hey, man, you got to leave. People do this all the time. I give you an example. A real life example with me. I've told this story on the show before. Had a cabana at Wet Republic, and I used to do this a lot out in Las Vegas. And some kid, young person in his early 20s or whatever, comes up in our cabana, the cabana I've paid for, trying to holler at some girl. And I'm like, hey, dog, you got to step outside our cabana. I've paid for this. I understand you want to talk to this girl. Get her to come out to where you are. You can't post up in my cabana. Dude left, and I've told you all this story. Dude left, came back with 3 of his boys, and the next thing you know, there's a massive brawl inside my cabana at Wet Republic. I just happened to be with some guys that could handle themselves real well, and they wiped the floor with those guys. And the whole thing could have spun out of control, and I could have been in a news story. Someone could have taken that thing to the next level rather than a fist fight where guys got, mopped the floor with. It could have gotten out of hand. But people have a right. Hey, man, this ain't your spot. Move up out of here. And Karmelo Anthony overreacted. But in this aftermath, the globalists, the feds, the people that are secretly and subversively and subtly trying to promote racial conflict between black and white are using this situation to stir up racial division and animus. They want to spark some sort of racial conflict. Nick Fuentes, Ray Epps 2.0. He's trying to take his little group of followers and he's pointing them like Ray Epps. Let's run into this building and let's go have some fun and start trouble. And he's calling himself some sort of Christian, leading foolish believers into thinking this is some sort of righteous conflict he's leading them into. And this is the hill we're going to die on. And the hill he wants to die on is that black people are inherently, innately savages and primitive and beyond redemption. That's not biblical. The Bible is filled with stories of people of all kinds that reject God's wisdom and advice, give in to pagan cultures, give in to pagan beliefs, take on idols that they have no business taking on. There's a reason why idolatry is seen as the root of all sin and evil in the Bible. And black Americans, in great numbers, they've done that. They've taken on their skin color as an idol. But beyond redemption, a lower standard of human than everybody else, that's not the case. Because there are groups of people that run Planned Parenthoods and murder babies on a daily basis. And they're not ghetto black people. Primarily, they're not black people at all. But they've given into a pagan child sacrifice cult. All people are capable of giving into the kind of insanity that black people have given into with this pagan hip-hop culture, this black culture that teaches them that anything that they deem as disrespect is worthy of them responding with disrespect and violence. People are flawed. And Nick Fuentes, a Fed, Ray Epps, a foolish idol, an idiot, a godless person, pretending to be a Christian while he's leading foolish Christians straight to hell. What he's doing is unbiblical and demonic. And this isn't some emotional response that I'm having. The proof is in the pudding. And I'm telling you, I hadn't paid a lot of attention to him. And I've heard people complain about it. I heard E. Michael Jones complain about it. And E. Michael Jones, he's exactly what E. Michael Jones says he is. A godless idiot who's pointing people to race rather than culture. And I don't want to hide behind E. Michael Jones. I don't want to hide behind anybody. The people claiming to be Christians who are not pointing to Christ, who are stirring up racial conflict, they're not Christians. They're wolves in sheep's clothing. They're a different form of the Patriot Front. And that's what I call Nick Fuentes, the Patriot font. He's just a different font of the Patriot font. You know, the guys that dress up in khaki pants and sunglasses and put mask over their face, and the feds pay them to show up at rallies and you know, to create the impression, oh, look at all the white supremacists that we have on payroll. Nick Fuentes. And you groypers that's following around, you're a different form of the Patriot Front. And I'm not saying that to bully you all or be snarky or to be really even disrespectful. I just want you to disconnect yourself from calling yourself Christians and stand on what you really are. You're not Christian. Your response to the chaos and the demonic energy that is throughout American and global culture, your response isn't biblical. Quit calling yourselves Christians. You're not part of a solution. You're part of stirring up a global conflict that will empower the elites that want this global conflict, that want this war between the races here in America. I'm going to stand against this every day that I have left on this planet. And I'm going to explain to people what the real solution is. Black Americans, many of them that go to church every Sunday, many of them that stand in pulpits every Sunday, many of them that never go to church, they need prayer and deliverance from their racial idolatry. They think, well, I got the right amount of racial idolatry. There is no right amount. There is no identity outside of Jesus Christ for Christians. And so all this black pride stuff that causes you to, there are people, there's been $160,000, $200,000 raised in the defense of Karmelo Anthony. And people are posting and tweeting out like, you know, black people are sending all this money to GoFundMe to support Karmelo Anthony. I pump the brakes. We know damn well whenever there's one of these racial conflict psyops performed, we know that a lot of white people finance that as well. We know that George Soros and Jewish leftists finance that as well. And so, yes, are there black people posting on Facebook and posting on social media that they got Karmelo Anthony's back and that, you know, this was a clear case of self-defense, and let's compare this to Kyle Rittenhouse, and let's gin up any of all these excuses? He was being bullied. Stabbing someone in the heart isn't how you respond to being bullied. Sitting up someplace where you're not supposed to be, where your alleged bully is, that's not how you respond to getting bullied. Someone asking you to leave some area where you don't belong, and maybe grabbing your backpack or maybe placing their hand on you. That ain't being bullied, doesn't justify stabbing and killing someone. Those of us that are Christians pray for deliverance of the people. Even Nick Fuentes and his group, pray for them too, that they get delivered from their racial idolatry. Pray for black Americans that are caught up in their racial idolatry, and then point them to Christ. Everything else you're doing is just noise. You're chasing clout and clicks and relevance. You're no different than Nick Fuentes, chasing clout and clicks and relevance and working as a Fed. No, just I'll connect all the dots to what we talked a little bit earlier. Just like We're in this time where all the feds, all the plants have been activated. It's no different than Stephen A. Smith. And why did Disney and Bob Iger and all these other people are behind trying to run Stephen A. Smith as a presidential candidate? He promotes racial division. He promotes racial conflict. He's a race baiter. That's how you know. They don't point to God, and they promote racial conflict. Sound familiar? Is that not what Nick Fuentes is doing? Is he not offering unbiblical answers to questions that are troubling America and the world? True believers point to Christ and stick to that Bible and not their own understanding. Stephen A. Smith a fraud, Nick Fuentes a fraud, a lot of frauds out here. A lot of people just caught up in, hey, I just want some clicks and I just want how can I benefit from this? So they'll take a side. As I've pointed out yesterday, there's these paid agitators. And then there are just the sheep and the followers. And I've read their Facebook posts. And I see the impression that they're creating. I've seen some of the most illogical things argued and stated on Facebook and on Twitter by people that are claiming or presenting themselves as Black Americans. Pray for them. They've been brainwashed. They're caught up in a mass psychosis. They're no different than the black people that ran off following Jim Jones out in the jungles of Guyana and killed themselves because they follow that racist, Marxist, foolish ideology. The white man's the devil. And anything that happens to us bad, even if we kill somebody, we can kill a white man and it's the white man's fault. I'm going to leave it alone for now, but this particular exchange and topic, I'm not leaving the topic. Karmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf, this is a major psyop being used to promote a racial conflict that will further divide and potentially destroy America and stop us from getting back to a Christian or moving towards a more Christian culture. That's all I got to say for today. We'll play tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back, we are.